What is up, everybody? Welcome to my show. With me today is actually a request from a fan to have Katie Stone on the show. Welcome to the show. It's really nice to meet you. I actually haven't had a lot of interaction with you, but I'm pretty excited to get to know you. I know that you are a Borgata. I don't know if you're a rep or a poker ambassador. What's the story with Borgata?
So I guess the official title that they use is Sponsored Pro.
Okay.
That's just their term. And so it's like officially it's Party Poker US. And then like there's different skins in New Jersey. So Party Poker, and then there's BetMGM, and then there's Borgata. So the way they kind of refer to us, there's three of us. There's me, and then Dan Busgon, and then Michael Gagliano. We're the three sponsored pros. And so the way they kind of just refer to us is like we're with Party Poker US, and we also represent the other skins, BorgataPoker.com and PlayMGM. So
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to lessen that, because when I Googled you, it in the one article I read, they referenced you as the Borgata ambassador.
Yeah.
So I didn't quite know if you were repping for them or if you were sponsored pro. So that's cool. How long have you been doing that?
So it's like almost 3 or 4 years. Yeah. It was kind of like I played online in New Jersey before I was a sponsored pro, and for like ever since regulation happened in New Jersey. And then a few years into it, I took a few years off to have a baby. And then when I came back, I started playing a lot more again. Just kind of like, I had been playing like a lot. It wasn't like they just like randomly like, decided to like, sign me. Like I had been playing a lot. And so, and I'm from New Jersey too. So it wasn't like a completely random thing,
So have you been less affected with this COVID stuff as far as your professional life? Because online is probably booming now, right?
Yeah, online is kind of crazy right now, actually. The prize pools are, you can play like a $55 tournament and like, it's like, 10K for first, and that's like not something that we are really used to in regulated poker, because it's only Nevada and New Jersey, and then Delaware is also with WSOP. But Party Poker, Borgata, and MGM, and then also PokerStars, they're the only ones that are in New Jersey. So it's only WSOP that has the shared player pool between Nevada and the other states. So that's obviously why the other prize pools are a lot bigger. Like WSOP prize pools are a lot bigger because they have more, more
Can
states.
you imagine if they legalized it across the entire United States, the prize pools? It would be insane.
Yeah.
It would be like what they used to be before Black Friday, obviously.
Yeah, it would be awesome. Like, unfortunately, I think it's probably like a ways away for something that kind of organized, and efficient.
So I hear that sigh. What is, besides like the obvious of it being illegal, like what is your main frustration with it all?
Well, it's just that, like I obviously don't know like exactly what goes on. I just have I don't have a strictly outside view. I have kind of like a peek inside, but really like I don't have that big of a peek inside, like I don't think anybody really does. I think everybody I've ever talked to about the process of how online gaming legislation takes place, it's a very confusing process. It is not something that is a very quick process.
Well, they have to tag on many legislations into a bill, and sometimes things get slipped in that we're not aware of. And I'm sure it like you have to have lobbyists involved. You have to have groups that would make a profit off of the bill passing. There's a lot of incentives that go along with it, it seems. It's not like it's for everyone's like the average person's best interest. It's always, who's going to get paid, who's going to scratch someone else's back.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, and I mean, and even with, like it kind of doesn't really stop there either. Like even with the process of like getting, like putting new tournaments on the schedule or offering new games, I'm talking about online.
Okay.
There's a whole process that has to happen. It's not as simple as, like the operator, which is, so the way it works in the US as far as online gaming is, so when online gaming regulation happened, the online operators have to partner with a land-based operator. So Party Poker partnered with MGM.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
And Poker
I was
Stars.
wondering why MGM, you were talking
Yeah,
about MGM. Oh,
yeah,
they have to have like a brick and mortar partnership, an anchor
yes,
sort of. Okay.
yeah. So Poker Stars partnered with Resorts, which is also Mohegan Sun. And then 888 partnered with Caesars. And so those are kind of like the alliances that were formed, but basically, like, it's not as simple as just saying like, okay, we want to have a brand new $100 10K on a Wednesday night, let's just put it in. Like, unfortunately, it's not that simple. There is, and there's a reason for it. It's to ensure the safety of the game. It's to ensure the safety for the players and everything, but there's a whole process. You have to get everything approved, and sometimes it's tough because sometimes things don't get approved very quickly, or like,
So
and so
I'm just trying to compare it to live poker because that's what I know. I know that when I was doing commentary at Stones, we often talked about spreading other games like a big O game, and we were waiting for the license to be able to spread it. Is it something similar to that where you either need like a license to spread a certain size game or certain buy-ins or certain guarantees, or what is that all about?
it's not really the license. It's just anytime you put a new event online. So like all of the different sites, they all host these different series. So like, I'm sure you've heard like WSOP is having their online WSOP series. We just finished Party Poker. We just had our Spring Poker Open. It was supposed to be in April live at Borgata. But instead we just brought it online, and we kind of made events that were more similar to the live events, just trying to pull in some of those live players that were now stuck at home, and maybe they, recognize, the $400 deep stack or something like that, or the $400
Yeah.
bounce. But like, it's like, it's still a whole entire process to submit every tournament for the entire series, and you have to submit that and get it approved. And in addition to that, it takes quite a bit of time just planning the whole series too, because and that was kind of something like here in New Jersey, it was just like, we knew everybody was going to be home, we knew everybody was going to be wanting to play online, but we can't just throw stuff up there. Like, we still have to plan it and then get it approved. And so, but, they did a pretty good job in getting things out there pretty fast. And we had a really amazing online series too. It was just fantastic. So we were happy.
Was the turnout comparable to what they were expecting in the live world?
No, it wouldn't be, it definitely wouldn't get that big. Not yet. Just because like so many people come in from out of town for that whole series, and like so many people come, like they'll come into town and then they'll go back out of town because the tri-state area, it's like very, very doable as far as being a transient poker player. It's a very doable thing to live in New York and then still play in either PA or New Jersey or, anything like that.
We have that same kind of movement on the West Coast. Whenever we have a big poker series, everyone comes in from Vegas and, moving up and down the whole West Coast with Oregon and California and Washington State. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So
one of the things I really like that I've been reading about from you is that you're an advocate for casino employees, and you've been I don't know if it was a blog that you started, and you also won a charity poker series, which I thought was cool in January. But can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing for casino employees?
Well, I mean, it's not, it's a very informal effort. Just me sitting at my desk, basically just thinking, what can I do to help? Just feeling
Right.
completely helpless. And but essentially what happened is we kind of stay indoors anyway. We're online. My husband and I, we are online poker players. We don't play live that much. We generally just play live when Borgata has the big series. We don't even go to like Pennsylvania and stuff for the Park series or anything like that, even though it's only an hour and a half away. But yeah, we just kind of decided to like stay inside kind of early. We had been in Texas for the entire month of February, and then we came back to New Jersey on March 2nd. And then we, just a couple days later, we just said, you know what, we're just gonna stock up, and we're just gonna, shut the door and kind of see what happens. And then everything just started like going crazy, like a few days later, just completely crazy. And so I just was like, okay, like, and I was just, I have my workstation, it's like my command center, I've got my screens, and I had, like all the different news stations, and Twitter was on one screen, and then the news stations were on the other screen. And then, and I was just kind of like, just blown away by what was happening, because everything was shutting down and people legitimately didn't know how they are going to pay their rent. Like there was like even people that like, and I didn't even really think about this, but like dealers and stuff really kind of plan their year based on the World Series and based
Yeah.
on the money that they're going to make at the World Series. And now all of a sudden that's gone, and that's kind of a big deal. Not to mention the money that they would immediately be making tomorrow that now they're not. So, so yeah, I just like one of my friends, Cy Watson, we had, been kind of communicating a lot, just kind of in the beginning, like when everything was exploding. And I was just like, hey, like, should we get like a Discord chat going for some of these like people that are losing their jobs right now? Cause I feel like we need like like all-in-one kind of, place to communicate, because not everybody is on Twitter and not everybody is on Facebook, but like, you can download a Discord messaging app. And, so we just started the chat just to kind of, have a place for everybody who was, working either as like freelance writer, media, whatever, or dealing, floor staff, any casino employees, like kind of anybody that was in poker. It was just an open invitation just to join the chat, just to share, what was going on with, what's going on with MGM National Harbor, what's going on at Aria, what's going on, in LA. And it was good, like Matt Savage came in pretty early, Chad Holloway was in there, and everybody was pretty active. And it was a good, like, right then and there, it was a good, just kind of mode of communication for the moment while everything was really, really kind of chaotic. And so we've kind of just kept up the chat. People will post, we have a couple of different, topics in there where, people who are offering help. So people who have jobs for, people who are looking for jobs, like online work, that kind of thing. And then there's also a section for people who need help, that they can, put their specific situation. We do ask that they give their name and then just give some sort of reference, like who they work with or their supervisor or something like that, just to kind of make sure that, the right people are in the right chat, kind of thing. And then, yeah, we've had, people who are, giving cash gifts. I know some poker players are giving cash gifts to some people. And then I know like a lot of other efforts that are starting now. So inevitably somebody will, post the link for like the new, like I think Poker Go is having an amazing charity streaming, week of streaming right now. And so, somebody posted, or I think Chad Holloway posted the link in the chat. So anytime anybody hears of an opportunity, somebody's looking to hire somebody, or, an opportunity, for somebody to file for, here's an easy way to file for this type of unemployment or this type of benefit or whatever. So yeah, it's just an easy, real-time source of information that there's like 100, I think there's like 150 people in there. So
That's awesome. I'm feeling very, I guess, overwhelmed and depressed and with everything that's been going on. And I feel like we're going to get to a point that we're going to be take the risk of potentially catching this thing rather than starve. Or, I think people are going to get to a point where they're not going to care so much about the risk. They're going to want to work more than to sit at home and um, sit at home and like not have the risk of getting sick. So um, I I don't know what to say. I think this is just like a very unique time. I think our economy was not equipped to withstand something like this. Um, like I don't know what to say. I think it's great that there is a communication going on and on Discord that you have started, and it's good that we're all coming together as a community. I really think, and I tweeted about this, that it's going to come down to those of us who are able to work, those of us who still, have food or resources or whatever, are going to have to share with those of us who are out of work right now and not getting food and not having resources and not having the means to travel to go to get a job or whatever. So I think that's really good that you started that chat and started that communication. Uh, what have you seen in there? Um, is there anything you can recommend that people do to help out some of these casino workers? Like any specific things besides like donating to a local food bank? Is there
yeah.
anything? Yeah, if you can tell me like anything specific to casino workers.
Yeah, I mean, so what we have been doing, just like I said, just informally, within the chat, is there have been a few people who have come to me and just said that they had X amount of dollars that they wanted to give in gifts, however they wanted to break it up or whatever, and so I helped them find people who I know are real, people working in our industry. Because we did actually have, like, it was during the first few days of the chat, somebody came in the chat, there was a couple people and they were just like, I really need money to feed my kid. And everybody's like, oh my God. Like, and then it's like, okay, wait a minute. Like, where do you work? Like who's your floor supervisor or something like that, and then we never hear from them again,
Yeah.
so and that was kind of like a little bit eye-opening, that it was like right away, like right off the bat.
Well, I've had instances where I've seen women on Twitter say that they can't afford to feed their children. And I'm like, hey, send me your contact information or like
Yeah,
Venmo or something. And then someone will message me saying, hey, this person's a scammer.
yeah,
It's really frustrating when people
yeah,
mean well and there's people trying to take advantage of it.
yeah. Yeah, and I feel bad, like like asking them and being like, "Who do you work for, or who do you work with?" Like just some sort of reference. Like, I'm not trying to be this like sheriff or something or whatever, but
Yeah.
like at the same time, I also am trying to protect the generosity of the community that is trying to help their community. But then it's like, who's to say that that person in the chat didn't really, need the money? Who's to say they didn't really have a kid to feed? So it's just like, I don't know. It's I don't know. I can't make everybody happy, I guess. But yeah, I mean, so we just kind of find, just kind of have found a few people, through that. And then, like a few people have kind of come in and talked about their individual, like insurance situations, because it's kind of different with all the different casinos. Some of them are giving their dealers health insurance through, June or something. Some casinos are actually paying them still. And so people are kind of comparing notes too, like what's going on, here, what's going on there. but and then there's also been like a few other people that have had like a few different like online gigs and stuff that's been helpful to hire people for,
So I asked this to everyone, pretty much everyone I have on my show lately, and I'm just wondering like what your thoughts are on the poker economy this year with World Series of Poker being all I have heard I've only heard that it was delayed. I'm not sure if it was actually fully canceled. But
yeah.
what are your thoughts? Like, what's your perspective on the rest of this year and maybe a longer outlook?
So I think things before coronavirus, I think things were going well. I think even though shared liquidity among the different states is taking longer than everybody would like, I think just from what I see on my end, I think things were really going in the right direction, both online and live, actually, and just kind of across the board. And what I mean by that is like World Series had kind of made like a lot of adjustments in their buy-ins. They like a ton of freeze outs. Online sites are really very, very heavily reevaluating their reentry, philosophy. Party Poker ROW, Rest of World, is experimenting with real names, on the tables. So I think those were all signs of really good things, like that means that they're listening to the economy, they're listening to the players, and they were doing things to encourage growth.
Can I ask what was the benefit of real names in Party Poker?
Well, I think there's a few. I think there's a few benefits. Security is a main concern with online poker for people who don't really fully understand online poker. So like that's kind of like,
you mean like potential bots? Is that the security?
Just overall, like people like sharing accounts or ghosting or people using somebody else's account that they shouldn't be, or whatever, like these are concerns that people have because they've heard of instances of this happening in online poker. And so people who, aren't that in touch with online poker, that kind of just stays in their mind. And then they kind of have a bad taste in their mouths about, online security being like non-existent or whatever. And that's kind of my gripe with the unregulated poker, there was, just a whole slew of really fun stuff occurring, on ACR. And this is kind of my point, is just like, I understand that there aren't any other options for most of the states for, big money and stuff, but it's just like, these are the kinds of things that are going to happen with unregulated sites. You're going to have a player just completely ladder to the top of to first, second, third place or whatever it was, and you're going to have glitches that don't show rivers, etc. And you're going to have weird stuff because the software has not had to withstand a state regulatory agency like making sure that it's not screwed up, And so I think that that's a detriment when that all of this, a lot of people start flocking to that, because there's just more likelihood that bad things can happen to more people, and then now you have to reacquire them into a regulated market again and re-earn their trust, and it's just a lot harder. And it's harder for legislation to get passed when you have to keep re-earning trust over and over again, when you can assure them with why regulated poker is so much is so necessary. So as far as where the poker economy is going now, anytime you have something that removes action from the player pool, it's going to suffer, right? So we've removed a huge amount of people playing poker right now from the live player pool. we've added a large amount of people playing online poker, but nowhere near the amount that we've removed from the live realm, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'll be a tough road, I think, coming out of this, because disposable income isn't exactly something that 100% of people have just in sitting around their house just waiting to go play some poker. So it's going to be a tricky situation.
Yeah,
For sure.
considering how many people have filed for unemployment in the last month,
Yeah.
I don't think very many people have any disposable income right now, even if live poker were to come back anytime soon, or online poker becomes legal, which in most states, which I don't see that happening. I don't think that it's as clear as, hey, we need regulated gaming because people are going to play anyway. I don't think that that's the reason why they're not doing it. I think there's like many other variables involved and many other, I don't know. I don't want to say that, a majority of the United States are Christians who don't believe in gambling, but I feel like there has to be some sort of interest group that's keeping gambling illegal in a lot of ways and putting all these regulations. Like, I don't know if you've played in some states where they have like caps on bets and caps on buy-ins, and it's a really frustrating playing dynamic, and it doesn't make sense, but it's to like try to save people from themselves, and they don't want to be saved. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but it's also like, sometimes it's not just special interests though, too. Sometimes it's just one guy,
right.
like sometimes it's one guy. And there's a couple of those one guys out there that are casino owners that had a big part to do with why online poker or why online gaming isn't anywhere near their states.
I feel like you're talking about the Venetian. I don't know.
That might be one of them. That might be one of them.
So tell me, like, I'm not sure if you know the details, because if you do, I'd love for you to share. Like, why didn't an online site partner with Venetian, since MGM has now found a partnership and all these other sites or casinos?
Well, I mean, they tried initially. So back like a long time ago, and it's been quite a while since I've thought about this, Veronica. So the details.
Wait, tell me, are you a lawyer?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I'm like, damn, she knows a lot about this. Tell me more. What do you know?
This is, I mean, a very, very brief, like, just because, like, this is how I made my living. So, like, when you hear of efforts from this one guy in Nevada who, owns some casinos, is preventing you from potentially making a living in New Jersey, you generally pay attention, or if there's one guy in Texas that, owns casinos that, doesn't want or owns casinos surrounding Texas.
Yeah, I was going to say, I lived in Texas for a little bit, and I remember you had to either go to Oklahoma, or there was one casino in the entire state, and it was like on the border of Mexico, and I can't even remember what the city was, but it was just like this janky casino. But yeah, I don't remember them having, everything was illegal.
Yeah, they don't have legal casinos. You have to go to Louisiana or north
Eagle Pass.
Oh, Eagle Pass.
Eagle Pass. That's what it was. Yeah. That's the only one.
Yeah. So like if somebody has casinos in Louisiana and Oklahoma, and all of the Texas people leave Texas to go to the Louisiana and Oklahoma casinos, the guy who owns the Louisiana and Oklahoma casinos doesn't really want Texas to have casinos, because now they're not going to leave the state to come to his casinos anymore. Right. So this is how it works. So it's unfortunate that this is how it works. But to answer your question, as far as I remember, and there are way, way, way better documented, like really, really documented, as to, this was a whole huge thing. But from what I remember, Sheldon was initially trying to partner up with Poker Stars, actually. Venetian was trying to partner up with Stars. This is all public, this is all.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, that failed. And then he kind of made it his mission after that to like make online poker just kind of die everywhere, all over the place, in a very, very, very brief.
On top of making his guarantees really bad in the fine print, which they got called out for and it changed.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a driving force for a long time in, slowing the progression of online gaming in states outside of his state. So, and that directly affects people like me. I mean, I was living in Dallas when Black Friday happened, and as a result, ended up moving to Mexico so that I could work, and
wow.
When New Jersey regulated online poker, I moved back in 2014. So I was able to move back to my home state. But, I really shouldn't have had to do that. I shouldn't have had to do that, I mean,
yeah.
and I definitely shouldn't have had to do it any longer or whatever, just because of the efforts of one person or two people or three people or whatever,
yeah, I think obviously I think of the customer being, if you have a business, your customer should be the priority in your business, especially when you're depending on that customer's money. But obviously he stands to lose more money if online poker is legal, or he thinks that. I don't know. I find that there's a difference between live players and online players. I feel like there's some people that are much more enjoy live playing, and it not only fills that need for the strategic game, but also the social aspect. And then I find some people really enjoy, multi-tabling and will move to a different state to be able to continue their craft, and they don't enjoy that live interaction. I almost think that it's not like everyone playing live is suddenly going to go online if it were
right.
legal. I still think that there's like a lot of social dynamic to the live game and ordering food and being around people. And, if you sit at the Wynn, you watch people walk out of the pool. It's very entertaining. So I just like, it seems odd to me. And I think maybe I'm becoming a conspiracy theorist. I think there's other motivations behind this that I may not know about. I actually, you're making me think that I want to get like a gaming lawyer on here to ask all the questions that we need answered.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many great like poker gaming legal situations that have taken place over the years that just really is fascinating kind of to watch it like all play out like right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
So,
And this has been a lot more interesting than I thought it would be. You're quite the interesting person.
oh, you're talking about me?
Yeah, you.
Oh,
I had no idea what to expect from you, and you've come out like, I'm like, damn girl, look at you.
All right, I thought you were talking about the topic.
No, you in general. I think you're a very interesting person.
Thank you. I feel the same about you.
Oh, thanks. So, tell me about this charity series of poker you won in January. What was that charity for?
So that is that's Matt Stout's charity series of poker that he started a few years ago. And they hold charity events like all over the country at the different, I think they do like Florida, they go to Vegas, they have like, he lives in Vegas, so they have Vegas tournaments, and then Borgata traditionally is the host like during the January. I forget if I totally forget. I feel bad. Oh, you know what? There is one in the September WPT. Yeah. but yeah, it's just a fun, like it generally runs like right before the main event starts. And I was a bounty in the tournament. So I just went, and I think I was like in another tournament. I forget. I think I was in day 2 of another tournament. And so I wasn't 100% sure I was even going to play the charity series of poker event that night because it starts at night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very loud and people are,
Oh, those are
very,
my specialty. Oh yeah.
yeah, and
I
they're
know.
fun. And there's there's some good characters out this way, so they get to be pretty rowdy. And it's good because it's raising money for a good cause too. This one was for St. Jude's, I think. So yeah, it's generally like right before the main, and then I busted this day 2, I think, and then I just like registered like kind of right at the last minute. So I was only in for one buy-in, and
Save
it,
bread.
yeah, it was small. It was like, it was like 4 tables, I think, total. Like, I think it was probably 6 tables total, but then like realistically it was 4 tables, but yeah, it was nice to just like win. And then, I was going to play the main anyway, but it was just nice to win
You
the
won the
seat,
seat into the main. Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, because it was for 3,500. So that's like, it was I didn't have to sell quite as much of myself, at that. I was able to keep like, a little bit more because I won the seat, so that was good. That's always nice to have a little bit more of yourself in a good tournament.
How long have you been playing professionally? Like, how did you get into poker?
So I started playing like I learned how like '05. So I come from the chess world with Jen Shahadi. We've known each other for a very, very long time. And so I came up through chess, and around the moneymaker boom, there was a lot of chess players that were switching to poker. And even before that too, like even before the moneymaker boom. And so I learned how to play from some friends. And
Can I just ask what was the reasoning you think that a lot of chess players migrated towards poker? Was it because there was more money or the
money.
strategy is better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the money.
Do you
I
find the
think
strategy to be similar or more challenging, or how do you
I think
compare?
what it was what enabled the kind of easy transition for a lot of chess players into poker was just because they were so used to rigorous study anyway. And back then this was pre-solver, obviously, and but it was post chess solver, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like chess kind of had their own solver, like, chess software boom,
Yeah.
and then so it was post, and so the chess players had already kind of figured out how to study really well, like study and really good study methods. And I think they're just also very used to, I think this kind of goes unsaid a lot, but I think it is something that's really important, the ability to concentrate for long periods of time, and focus and keeping, like, not just like concentrating and paying attention to something for a long time, but like really like forcing your brain to perform for a long period of time, like
can I ask, I just want to ask you real quick, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
When you talk about chess solvers, I've heard many people, Berkey was on my show saying that indeed like GTO solvers were not particularly great for poker, and there's a whole thread on 2+2 on how solvers are ruining online poker especially. Do you think that the implication of solvers within chess has slightly ruined it, since everybody's learning to study better and everybody's using the same methods?
Well, sure. Once software became, before software in chess, there was something called New in Chess, and it was this like encyclopedia, like these books, like these magazines that were like published, and they were published like every few weeks. Like I think they were published out of London. But that was the most real-time updates of like the newest, like the games that were happening all over the world, and like the new moves that were being found, or the new lines that were being played, you know, in some championship in Budapest or wherever, you know.
Right.
So it had to be mailed to you, you know, it had to be mailed in the mail, an actual magazine, you know. Once the softwares became a lot more common, yes, people started getting better a lot faster. And because the speed with which the games were being uploaded to the databases, and the databases were just very large, and the players were able to analyze, you know, just so much better. Also, like, it was also around the time too where online chess was really getting popular also. And so just like online poker, that also kind of facilitated in players getting a lot better, like a lot faster. Now, online chess is a lot different from live chess, like we're talking about chess and poker, because most online chess is really fast. And that's like a very different game. It's like blitz or bullet chess. You know, that's a very, very different game, like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute kind of thing. Whereas poker, it's never, like, you're not going and playing a live hyper turbo. You know, you're not going and playing like a 3 minute level live poker tournament. Nobody's doing that. But yes, I mean, there definitely did exist and has existed in the chess world. You know, like a lot of things happened with chess software becoming really popular. A lot of players got kind of disillusioned because a lot of the top players were, you know, just kind of drawing a lot, you know, and games weren't really being won anymore. And that was kind of discouraging. That kind of takes away the kind of the journey of the studying of the game, you know, for some. And, you know, ratings also kind of became affected too. You know, ratings somewhat, you know, became, you know, fluctuated a lot. They became inflated at some point too, for some other reasons too. So,
I feel like a lot of these solvers in many situations, I think affecting more than just like chess and poker, but in life as well, kind of take away our climb up Mount Everest, so to speak. You know, we're losing that the beauty of becoming an expert, and it's almost like we're fast forwarding that trip, and then it almost feels less fulfilling to me in some ways.
I don't know. I think I kind of think, I don't know. I think it kind of offers people a different option. So in a way, it's almost more, you kind of pave the way almost for more brilliance, so to speak, you know, like I'm
open to that. I'm also worried that like what will be rewarded is good compute or good programming, where whoever can program the best real-time solver will end up winning the game, and that type of genius will be rewarded rather than that person who's actually strategically understanding the game.
Yeah, and that's going to be really, really unfortunate. I mean, they're talking about that, like, I'm sure somebody out there right now is like using like real-time solvers in poker too, you know, like I'm sure it exists somewhere, somehow.
Yes.
People are, you know, I haven't heard about it or whatever, but like, man, like,
if it's not being used now, it's definitely on the forefront. It's definitely on its way. Yeah.
And that's scary, you know, that's really scary. And so that's where it kind of falls also on the operators to somehow, you know, do something to protect the players and the player economy. And, you know, that kind of involves, you know, maybe they have to adjust the games that they offer. Maybe they have to adjust whatever, something, I don't know. But, you know, it's something that the operators are going to have to deal with.
I think they're going to have to, as everyone becomes more sophisticated in the game, we'll have to set prerequisites like, okay, what do we want? Are we going to allow a tournament series to have real-time solvers, and whoever has the best real-time solver would end up winning? And then are we going to have separate tournaments for real people who just want to play against another person? And then are we going to develop algorithms that can detect who's using bots or real-time solvers and who isn't?
Yeah.
I think a lot can be detected in, I guess, the outliers.
Yeah.
Like Bernie Madoff's book that someone talked to me about how like they could look at his numbers and see when he was cooking the numbers, when he was faking it. So
Mhm.
kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So sorry, go on. I feel like I interrupted your entire story. I want to hear how you got into poker. So you were
Yeah.
playing chess and then you
Yeah. So yeah, and it was like, so that was like 05, 06. And so yeah, while I was in college, I started a business that ran summer chess camps for kids, and it grew really fast. And I actually quit college my junior year just because it was just really like taking a lot of time. And so, long story
Can I ask
short,
what you were taking?
sorry.
Can I ask what you were taking in college?
So,
I'm so intrigued I'm so interested in you. I'm like, oh, this is such a great story. Where were you?
I actually was taking like a lot of independent study courses, which
So
was
pre-law?
yeah. So yes, I was like technically like I knew eventually I was probably going to be pre-law, but like independent study courses, it was kind of weird. Like we had so we had a chess program. I went to UT Dallas, University of Texas at Dallas. So we had a chess program there, and we had like players on scholarship. Like we used to go and travel to chess tournaments like all over the place, like, you know. And the head of the chess program was also like a very well-respected professor at the university, and he's like a writer and like he's a literature professor. And so we had this chess program, and so I ended up doing a lot of like independent study courses about like classical rhetoric.
That's awesome.
Just like because we weren't exactly sure like what direction I was going to go in my undergrad, and you know, like we had this connection with the chess program, you know, and so he, you know, the professors were kind of just like, you know, helping direct me as far as like what classes would be, you know, good to take, and also which classes would be helpful for the chess program too, which included you know, those kinds of classes. So, but I ended up dropping out my junior year just because I just didn't have enough time to go. And then, yeah, so ended up selling the majority of the company, and then basically just switching to poker. And so I started playing, like I had a rough start at first, and then like I quit and then took some time off, and then restarted, and that was end of 08. And then I was mostly playing live. Like I had played like Party Poker Online a little bit, like 05, 06, and then 09, I was playing mostly live. Like I was traveling a lot. I played like a bunch of like stops in Europe just because, like, you know, I wanted to travel and I was young, and like I, you know, had the freedom to do it and had the ability to do it, and I wanted to be a poker player. So I'm like, okay, I'll just go travel Europe for the year. And but I had also been playing a little bit on PokerStars and like playing the steps and like the sit and goes and stuff. And so through that whole experience, I kind of decided to go online full time. And then I was online full time, like end of 09, like early 2010. And was just playing online, living in Dallas. And then Black Friday happened. And so moved to Vegas for the first, like, you know, for like 6 months, and then thought I was going to be a live player again, and was like, no.
Why do you like online more than live?
Well, like, I mean, there's a lot, like, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, it's not that I don't like live. Like, I'm not trying to like say live poker is horrible or whatever. Like, it's definitely not horrible. It's amazing.
Sometimes it is.
It can be really brutal for sure.
Yeah.
But like the thing with online is that I do enjoy just being home, and I do enjoy being able to review my games and my mistakes. And I do enjoy kind of the almost like the solitary method. I mean, poker very much so, or improving in poker very much so, is dependent on, it's like a team effort, right? It's not just, I mean, very, very few people get really, really good on their own.
Right. You need feedback. Definitely.
But it also kind of like at the root is a pretty solitary process, you know? So I think I enjoy that, probably because there's definitely probably roots in like selfishness, because like I'm an only child. And so I very much so just like, I'm like just focusing on myself, like when I'm working, and like, that's fine. You know, like I don't have to worry about anybody else. I don't have to, you know, like worry about what, if like I'm not using my time wisely, or I want to take a break or whatever. Like, you know, I've never done that before. I've never answered to anybody before as far as like my time and what I'm, you know, how I'm using my time. And so I very much enjoy, you know, being able to do that. And I'm so grateful to poker for enabling me to have been able to do that, you know, because there's not, I don't know, maybe there are a lot of professions out there that like allow you to like not do it, and then like a couple years later just like jump back in and like be okay, you know? Because like if you're somebody and you, let's say you take a couple years off for whatever reason, and then you try to go back into your corporate job, like that's not always easy as a woman, you know? Like you're not always going to like go right back, especially if it's a few years, you know? You're not always going to go like right back to where you were. And like but poker, you can do that.
So I'm curious, have you found, I mean, I think it's obvious the game has changed probably since you started,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I'm curious what your study habits are for you to maintain your success.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like
I ask that because I think a lot of people don't understand. I have friends who play professionally and are studying more than getting a PhD. And I don't think, I think like unsuccessful players are blaming results and are like, well, I can never get ahead. I'm just like always getting sucked out on the river. And I'm like, I don't know if you understand how much it actually takes to be successful. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. It's I think like one of the most surprising things for me throughout, because, you know, I'm definitely not alone in the kind of poker player that I am, meaning that like I come from another time, you know, like I'm like old, you know, compared to, you know, a lot of the young people that are playing poker today. But
You're
yes,
probably younger than me, so I don't know.
The game has definitely changed for sure. And yeah, like studying before like wasn't really that big of a deal. I mean, sure, there were people that were doing study, and there were people that were crushing, and there were people winning all the money because they were doing like their own kind of study, and they were almost like, you know, creating the study almost, right? But like you know, like I'm definitely not alone in falling into the group of poker players that like, you know, we're moderately successful, productive, profitable, like didn't have that many bills to pay, and, you know, like didn't really have to make that much money, you know, but like we were comfortable, and it was kind of just like always there. Like it was easy to make, like, and if you didn't want to work for a week, like it's okay, don't work for a week, you know, like just work next week, you know, it was that. And so it's not really like that anymore. You know, it's not like that for a few reasons. It's not like that just because the game has gotten a lot tougher, but it's also not like that because I have a kid now. So like, and I can't just, you know, do nothing, you know, every day, all day if I wanted to anymore. So as far as study habits go, yeah, it's like, it has been like a real journey. Like I really kind of bucked it for a long time. I was very, you know, I thought that like what I was doing was sufficient, and I was very, very wrong.
What were you
And
doing?
I was just like, watching a few videos every now and again, and like watching a few streams, and um, texting with my friends, and
Yeah.
and that's really, really good to do all of that stuff, and it's really, 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 really helpful for a lot of people. But if you're trying to, get better, and you're trying to get really good, and you're trying to get to a place where you can make, a good amount of money, or if you have, a certain amount of expenses that you have to pay for every month, it's not enough. And so, I bucked the, having to do the work for a long time. I think, I don't know, maybe that's just due to like immaturity, or just like being spoiled, or whatever. I don't know, but I mean,
It seemed like it was a lot easier back then. I know
yeah.
that there was a time where I was even profitable. There was a time where I was playing 510 live, and I was just kind of playing ABC, but everyone was so bad. Um, Now it's a different game. Now it's a mathematically oriented game,
Hmm.
and uh,
Yeah.
there takes some really advanced processing of like doing things like Pio Solver, and
Hmm.
running through strategies that are far more advanced than I've kept up with. And so
Yeah.
I feel bad for people who are still attempting to make this their living without understanding how tech, I guess, tech savvy the people who are studying have become, and how
Hmm.
advanced the game has gotten.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it's also like really hard too to like listen and figure out like who to listen to. Even
Right.
with your friends, like you might have like you could have really friends that are really good poker players and stuff, or who win a lot of money, and maybe they're just not fundamentally uh, the most sound, and so whatever they're telling you is maybe not really like ideal. And maybe you hear that information at the start of your career, and then it causes a lot of problems down the line, because just for me in particular, it's been a slow process to change things. So like, it's just been a very it's almost been tougher to dissect and just completely take apart everything I've done, everything, how I think about a hand, or how I, approach whatever I'm playing, whether it's a sit and go, or, a live poker tournament, or an online poker tournament. And I've literally had to just completely break everything down and put it back together. And, that's been a really, really hard process to do. And I probably put more hours in studying than I did playing, from like probably like the beginning of last year until now, to like total. And I've probably studied more in that time than I have like in the previous 10 years total. And my daily, like it's pretty much an everyday thing. I will definitely like work on my game in some capacity more days than I will play. But it's not like I'm doing it for like 5 hours or something like that. It'll just be like, sometimes I'll just like look at something for an hour, or, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. But it's like important to not force it, I think. So I don't force it. I just kind of allow the feeling, like for example, last night um so Tuesdays are a big day online. And so like last night was like a big night online, and like I just had a really shitty night. And most nights I just want to shut my computer down and go to bed, after I have a really bad night. But like last night, there was like 3 hands in particular from like 3 different tournaments, that I like pulled them up right after I played them. And like, so I spent, about just like 30 minutes or whatever, just after my session, just like looking at the hands and, like doing, kind of doing, I think, what you feel at the time, and also understanding that like you're doing it for yourself, like you're not doing it for anybody else. And so I think it makes it just like easier to really give you the desire to actually look at those mistakes, immediately.
I'm curious, with your chess background, so one of the things that is difficult for me in poker, besides like some abstract portions of it, I feel for me are abstract, but one of the things that I have a problem with is when I'm playing bad and I get rewarded by winning the pot, or if I do something correct and then I lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, it feels like that is maybe a more common thing in poker than it is like at my job. If I do something wrong, it's really going to show. I won't be able to get away with it. I won't accidentally make the code work or make something function wrong, was it like that in chess? Did you have positive reinforcement for some bad plays ever, or as often as you would in poker?
Well, I think no, because first of all, I mean, I was like a kid, when I was like getting chess instruction. And so my instructor, like, knew I was a kid, so like was generally pretty positive. But chess is like really kind of like brutally honest, because you only have yourself to blame if you make a mistake. You can't blame the river or getting
Right.
2-outed or something, so in that sense, it's kind of hard to sugarcoat anything, because
you're not going to oopsie a win in chess, are you? Like, you're not going to make 3 bad moves. Like, you could make a bad move on the flop, the turn, and the river, and still be accidentally rewarded.
Well, you could if your opponent also makes, like,
right.
if you like blunder. So like a blunder in chess is like when you make a really bad move, you blunder your queen away, basically. Like you didn't see the next move, and you made a move that enabled your opponent to take your queen, and you blundered your queen, basically. But like, you can blunder, and then you would need your opponent to also like somehow blunder and like not see the mistake, so like how often does that happen? Which, like, not that often, they're gonna so
that's fair. That's fair.
yeah
Anything in the future for you for chess? Like, do you plan on doing any other chess tournaments, or do you ever teach chess anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's weird now that my son is he's 4.5 now, and it's like a whole nother world for me for chess and poker. So I used to spend a lot of time around a lot of children, teaching chess, like in a summer camp atmosphere, because we had summer camps in like over 100 cities across the US. So like,
that's amazing.
Every summer it was just like, a 12-week period, and there would be 100 camps going on during a 12-week period. And so everybody would kind of, teams of people would kind of go around, and so then now to be on the other side of it, to where I'm potentially going to have to send, my child to a camp, and it's, it's weird. Like, I sometimes have to kind of like, remind myself that all of this stuff is coming up, and I have to think about all this stuff, and there's just a lot of responsibility that comes with it, because you want to do what's right. You want to give them a good start. And like, you know, I started chess very young. Everybody in my family did. It was just kind of what happened. And I've already started, you know, teaching him and stuff. So he already knows. And then my best friend is Jen Shahadi. So she has a son who's like a year younger than my son.
Yes, I follow her.
Yeah. And so we, you know, we will probably be going to, you know, chess tournaments, scholastic chess tournaments all over the country. Just like, you know, I used to go as a coach, you know, with our kids to kindergarten super nationals, you know, and
That's
now
amazing.
it's going to be,
There's
I'm bringing,
kindergarten super nationals in chess.
oh boy, oh
My
boy.
God, I was
You want to hear something? You want to hear something so funny, like just super nationals, like just totally random, and like this came up in my Facebook memories the other day, and it was just like so funny. But like, so like there was like the very first super nationals ever in chess, and super nationals was what meant where they had all. So generally they would have like national elementary championship would be like in Florida in like whatever May, and then national middle school championship would be in New York in like September, and then national high school championship would be in whatever Illinois, you know, in January, whatever. So they did this thing where they did a super nationals where it was like all of them together, and it was in I think it was in Tennessee. Yeah, the first one is I think it's in 2000 or something, and it was huge. I mean, it was huge. It was all the kids, right? So fast forward to I'm living in Rosarito, Mexico in 2012, 2013. And there's like a ton of poker players. There was probably 500 poker players that lived in like a, you know, 3 or 4 mile radius in Rosarito, Mexico. And, you know, we would have like we had a Skype chat, and we would all, you know, get together and hang out and, you know, say, oh, a bunch of us are going to go meet and eat at this pizza place down the street, or a bunch of us are going to Walmart or whatever. And it was definitely the best time of my life. And, like everybody's at a bar one night, you know, like the local bar, you know, like next to where like the complexes, they're kind of like big complexes of like, you know, towers and then like villas and like, you know, so it was like almost like a college campus kind of, you know. And somebody just whips out a chessboard from the 2000 Super Nationals because it's like written on the board, and I'm like, oh my God! And it was actually Ben Geisman, who is like high stakes heads up player, and yeah, he just whips out his chessboard from 2000 Super Nationals, and they started playing chess games. So that was fun. It's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the correlation is between like elementary chess super nationals and like how they end up in life. Like how.
Oh, I know this. I know how they end up in life, because remember, I started my business when I was in college.
Yeah.
Those kids are now completely adults now.
Mm-hmm.
And I am friends with all of them on Facebook and all of their parents. And they are changing the world. Like, they will change the world. They are in every professional sector. They are doing unbelievable things. They are just mind blowing. And so, you know, like, it's not even from my own experience of starting chess from an early age. Like, my grandfather would send me to my chess lessons and stuff, and then he would pay for me to go to, you know, chess tournaments, you know, all around Texas and stuff, like all throughout, you know, high school. It's not even that experience that is going to make me teach my son chess. It's now having my own set of data, like seeing all of these kids that I knew for so long, from kindergarten to 8th grade in some, you know, points, and then on the same part, you know, high school all the way through college, you know, and I have a very, very good range, and it's all very heavily weighted towards success. So
do you think that they should teach chess in school? Like they
compulsory?
teach Go?
Yeah.
They teach Go in Japan to elementary school students, and pretty much throughout all of their schooling.
Yeah.
And so you think they should?
Oh yeah. And that was, I mean, that was actually the, like the business that I had, which was like, extracurricular. And then also during school programs, we had like, programs in over 40 schools in the Dallas area. And then we had programs in Houston, and then also in Washington, D.C. And some of those programs were during the day. So they weren't like officially compulsory, but they were just, like kind of an elective that they were just having everybody do it. And then some programs were completely elective, like after school or before school, and the kids would have to pay for it. But absolutely, it should be mandatory in schools. Like there's really, I really can't believe that it's not, because
Yeah.
it's so clear what it does for kids and for people. It's so, so, so clear. And there's so many benefits that have nothing to do with winning a chess game. Like you're not like the goal of teaching kids how to play chess is not to create the next world champion. At least that was never our goal
Right.
as young educators. We were trying to make chess fun, and we were trying to get them to have a good time, because they're so capable of extracting the benefits from what they're learning, and being able to transfer those into other areas of their life. So like,
what are those benefits?
oh my gosh, there's so many. Like, I think the most important one is patience. Like being a kid, and like, think about it, like, especially today, everything is digital. There's so much that can get their attention. It's hard even to keep their attention, because their attention spans can get so short, because they're just used to seeing so many new things, but like with chess, it's a board game and it's in front of them. And while the pieces are not moving physically on the board, the pieces are moving in their head all the time, constantly. So it's constant movement and it's constant analysis. And so that's what keeps the attention. And that's kind of what drives the understanding that, you have to continually look for a better move, and analyze and analyze and analyze. And that just, they learn patience. They understand how to think through a process and formulate, a strategy. And I think as a kid, it's just like one of the most important skills that you can learn at an early age, and something that can actually really help them, from an early age, if they can become, just more patient, because it also kind of helps, it also just like, even like empathy, like it's almost like it teaches them how to think. It gives them like a plan with which how to create, how their brain is going to solve a problem. So like, and then each, chess puzzle that they do, or each game that they play, is just another refinement of that process. And the earlier they can learn that, I think it enables them to have more time to refine that. And so it's like, they wouldn't be doing those things unless we gave them, the puzzles to do, or the chess games to do, and anything else that they would be doing really wouldn't be working their minds like that. So it's like, they just have more practice and more time to learn it,
So like circling back to poker, and I feel like there's a lot of parallels in it when I hear you talk about it. Are there exploitative moves within chess that people use as part of their strategy?
Exploitative, like, you mean like kind of like doing something, like making a move in chess where you're kind of trying to like throw them off, where you're trying to like maybe make them think that you're going to take this line,
Right.
but really you're actually, yeah, for sure.
Or when you're playing against them, you can get a sense of how advanced their
how they're going
strategy
to
is.
react, for sure.
Yeah.
Because different players are like, some players are more aggressive. Just the same thing in poker. Like, some players are more aggressive and some players are more passive. And so depending on like, whatever move you make, depending on if you're, like in chess, like if you're in like taking a theory line, like a book line, or if you're going off book, I mean, you definitely take into consideration how your opponent has reacted in the past to these things. So like for an example, like with the databases, you know, you have databases of all the different players in their games, and you can see where they are strong or where they are weak. Some players might be weaker defending versus a specific, you know, opening or player or whatever. You can actually see all of these things too. But what you can also see too is some players like to get off book really fast in chess, meaning they like to get out of theory really fast. So like kind of out in the Wild West, you know?
Right.
And some players are not as good off book. And so that means like a player might try to get them out of theory really fast just to get them out of their comfort zone, you know? So for sure, you can, you know.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So if there are parents out there who want to introduce chess to their children, or like, is there like a strategy book that you can recommend, or a book to learn chess?
There's a lot of really good books on chess. I'm a little bit out of touch with what is best right now for scholastic kids. There's a lot of online, like I know chess.com is like a really big online site for people. And then I know like there's also a scholastic, I think it's chesskid.com. And I think that's a really good, I don't know the people that do it, but I know who they are, that they run the site. And like over the past like 10 years, it's become like the main kind of like kids online interactive, like training. And I just got a membership to it for Luca. But yeah, like I think just, and same thing in poker, like I think going online and learning is better than like the books. But there's like, I mean, there's a lot of like good like chess books out there. It's different than poker because it's kind of like in poker there's just a set of rules, you know, like you have the rules of the game and everything. And the same thing in chess, it's the same thing. Well, I guess it is kind of the same too, because it's like the books definitely take on the style and of the author and how they explain it. And so something that might work for one person might not work for the other person, you know, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. So
cool. Well, I won't take up too much more of your time. I really appreciate you coming on my show. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, and I hope I can meet you in person one day.
I think we have met in person.
Have we? Oh my God.
I think we have.
I am such an ass for not remembering. Was it at the ladies event?
No. I think we actually met, maybe it was at a CSOP event at Planet Hollywood one summer. I think so.
I'm so sorry.
I'm pretty sure.
Was it the charity event at Planet Hollywood a couple years ago?
Yeah. I think so.
Okay. Yes. No, I wasn't sober.
I think that's pretty crazy that you can remember exact dates that you were not sober.
No, I do remember pre-gaming that day.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember that day because Joey Ingram, I bought a piece of him in his PLO event that year where he made like 24th or something. And so he came to that event and paid me.
He was there. Yeah. I remember he was there. I was talking to him.
I do remember. Yeah, I remember Freddie, the guy who played Freddy Krueger, was in the tournament. And the reason I remember is because my Snapchat history reminded me a year later that
I did not know that he was in the tournament.
Yeah.
That's
this
crazy.
happened this day a year ago.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe we can meet again.
Thank you so much, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was like really awesome getting to know you and talk to you. I was just like really nervous thinking, what are we going to talk about? But this is awesome. You're a pretty spectacular human. So I'm super impressed.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And hopefully you and your family stay safe and, well through this whole coronavirus thing. And as Dave Tuckman would say, this too shall pass, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. I hope you guys are, I don't know, are you in California?
Yeah, I'm in San Jose. I live right in Silicon Valley where I pay
Okay.
way too much for 500 square feet.
Oh, you're one of those people that I read about. Yeah.
It's insane out here.
I don't understand. I don't understand how people survive paying that much money for rent. Like, how do you pay your car payment and your water and your electricity and your student loans? And like, I just don't understand it.
Well, they have to compensate people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it. And honestly, I'm lucky that I don't have any debt. If I did have debt, I wouldn't be able to survive out here, or I'd be renting a room from someone.
Yeah.
But I'm barely like after if I have any expense out of the norm, like my tires had to be changed on my car. I was like, oh fuck.
Well,
Whoa, my
yeah.
God, now what am I gonna do?
Yeah,
You
like
know?
that's, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. I'm just like, I mean, we're the same way. Like, it's like, I just can't even, it's like everything adds up so fast, and so quickly. And it's just like,
Yeah. That's why people out here live like 5 people to a house.
I know, I can't even like, it's
Yeah.
just,
I live by myself, so I have to pay the premium.